Better Call Saul episode 8. It's been a long wait, but at last we got to it. And of course, I'm late with it, but we're going to get back on track. Let's talk about episode 8. What an episode this was. I'm still processing it, and it almost didn't feel like an episode of Better Call Saul. Something about the tone of it all, the fact that the whole episode is just set during one long night. It felt very different, and it also felt very dark. It felt more like a Breaking Bad episode. It really did feel just sinister. The intro was very tense, and you can just feel that tension in Saul and Kim, when they're just stuck in this awful situation that they just did not think they were going to be stuck in, but in a sense they did bring on. But ultimately they don't even feature that much because this episode is really about Gus and Lalo's final showdown. At last we finally understand that line from Breaking Bad.
Oh, no. No, it wasn't me, it was Ignacio. He's the one. Lalo didn't send you? No, Lalo.
We finally know what that means now, because Lalo has filled him in on what Nacho did to him. Saul now panics, of course, in Breaking Bad when he does eventually get kidnapped, and he thinks that it's Lalo coming back for him. Therefore, he immediately goes to throw Ignacio under the bus and blame him. And of course, he doesn't really think that Lalo is dead because Lalo's already come back from the dead once for him. So, he can never really believe that Lalo is dead, and I imagine that's something that permanently haunts him. I mean, how they turned a single line of dialogue in Breaking Bad and then took that and then just made it actually like an entire plot line in Better Call Saul. It's so impressive. I don't know how many steps ahead they think with stuff like that. Like when they first introduced Nacho into the show, of course, Ignacio. Did they really know it was going to end up to that point, or were they just like, well, Saul mentioned that he knew someone called Ignacio, so let's just, put that in there and then see what it becomes. I really don't know, but it's just so impressive how they've taken that line that meant pretty much nothing in Breaking Bad and then turned it into something that just means everything in this show. I was also a big fan of the interaction between Kim and Mike in this episode. Of course, they've only ever met once prior, and that was in this season, like a few episodes back, and then they meet again here, and then she finally sees like all of Gus's crew, and she even talks to Gus on the phone, which is something I never thought those two would ever communicate in this show, but it was really cool that they did. And of course, this brief moment of dialogue between Gus and Kim allowed Gus to realize what Lalo was really plotting, which of course led to their showdown at the laundry. The fact that we know Gus survived shouldn't make this whole segment this tense, but it is anyway, and Lalo puts in a hell of a performance one last time before Gus kills him, and you really see fear in Gus that you've never witnessed before. The fact that he kept pulling the trigger even after Lalo has hit the ground because Gus is so damn terrified of him. This is a really well structured episode, with the beginning and end being quite sad in regards to Howard's fate, his car at the beach. The fact is he's been buried with the man who murdered him, and you could see that Mike did pity Howard. Mike never feels good about putting an innocent man, to rest like he did with Werner, like he's done with Howard, even though it wasn't obviously Mike killing him, but you could see the guilt, the pity he feels. And when he's talking to Saul and Kim about what's going to happen with Howard's car and what the story's going to be, he's like a disappointed father. He knows that they've essentially got this man killed, and that they've painted him as this, cocaine addict, and now that's going to live on forever because Howard is dead. He can never repair his reputation. He's going to be remembered as someone that he wasn't, and I wonder how that's going to sit with Kim, especially because we know Saul was just going to carry on, but is it going to be too much for Kim? Is it going to eat her up? But I just love Mike in this show. He develops into such a great character, and you really learn so much about him, and you see that he means well the whole time, and he really does not want to be some hitman. That's not who he is. And the fact he feels sorry for some guy that he doesn't even know in Howard Hamlin, it just adds a lot to his character. But yeah, it's a sad end for Howard, who was just, a man caught between two worlds in the wrong place at the wrong time, and, schemed on by Kim and Saul and framed as something that he's not. It's also crazy that Lalo and Howard are now buried in a lab together. They're in that lab, they're underneath that floor the entire time in Breaking Bad. And watching Breaking Bad, you'll never see it the same because Howard and Lalo underneath the floor there. I mean, I did think Lalo was going to end up there, as I'd said in a previous episode, because, you know, Gus puts the gun there, you know, everything's done for a reason, so I had a feeling he'd kill him in there. But, you know, obviously Howard ended up in there. Never saw that coming. It's hard to see where Kim goes from here. She looks broken. You know, Saul gets up from the bed, but she doesn't. Maybe that's just a little bit of symbolism there, but Saul is more used to witnessing death than she is already at this stage. And maybe the suffering of Jimmy throughout the years, such as, you know, his brother's death and his mother's death and all the death he's witnessed, you know, his friend, what was his friend's name? That guy. Yeah, you know, he's experienced this stuff before, and it's almost like he's becoming immune to it, like it's not affecting him, like he's just ready to go about his day. But Kim, this is like the first time she's been involved in this criminal world, the first time she's experienced something in it. So I just wonder how it's going to affect her, if she's really going to be able to move on. You know, this could be her undoing. I just don't know. It's so impossible to predict what Kim's outcome is going to be. I still don't think she'll die, because I don't think Saul could carry on if she did. But what the hell else could happen? I don't know. This was a great episode, really, really, really good. One of the best in the show, one of the best in the series, and I'm going to rate it a 9.5 out of 10. I don't know if it's quite 10. It probably is, but I almost need to sit on it a bit. But I'm going to rate it at 9.5. It's outstanding. If you've seen it, please let me know what you think about it, and I will see all of you in the next video. I've been Joe Squared. Thank you for watching. Bye-bye.